Welcome, deep divers, to an episode where we're not just, reading Hamlet. We're really trying to dissect its very DNA.
That's a great way to put it.
We're plunging into a world that has captivated audiences for, over 4 centuries now? A story that digs right into the heart of human experience. William Shakespeare's Hamlet.
It really does.
We're talking about grief so profound, it borders on madness sometimes, betrayal that shatters a kingdom, and this relentless search for truth in a world that's just completely turned upside down.
It's a tragedy that just keeps resonating, doesn't it? These themes are as relevant today as they were back then.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to go beyond just the basic plot. We're embarking on a deep dive into Hamlet using the fantastic resources of the Folger Shakespeare Library's digital text, specifically their hamlet.pdf.
Which is an excellent resource.
It really is. And this isn't just about, understanding the story itself. It's about uncovering the fascinating journey of the text. Like, what did Shakespeare actually write? And how have those words been preserved and changed and interpreted over all these centuries?
It's a whole other layer to the play.
Exactly. We'll be peeling back the intricate layers of its earliest acts, revealing some surprising facts, deep insights, and maybe some of those aha moments that not only illuminate the play, but also, give us fresh perspectives on the human condition it dissects so brilliantly.
Hopefully, yes. Prepare to be, perhaps, a little astonished by what's actually beneath the surface of what we think we know.
Okay, let's dive in. When we approach a classic text like Hamlet, I think most of us make a basic assumption that there's one single definitive version.
Right.
Sort of a sacred text straight from Shakespeare's quill.
Right. That's the common idea. But the truth about these works, especially Shakespeare's, is actually far more complex. It challenges that whole notion.
So when I pick up my copy of Hamlet, I'm not necessarily reading exactly what Shakespeare put down on paper.
Well, not exactly in the way we think of modern books. The surprising truth is, Shakespeare's plays weren't published like novels are today. There wasn't a single authoritative edition he signed off on. Instead, they've come down to us in multiple published versions, often with pretty significant differences between them. These are generally known as quartos. The smaller, often earlier printings, we call them QQ, and then there's the big one, the first folio, or F, which his acting colleagues put together in 1623, about 7 years after he died.
Wow, okay.
And for Hamlet specifically, there are actually 3 very different early versions. And it's not unique plays like King Lear and Romeo and Juliet. They also have at least 2 distinct versions.
3 versions of Hamlet. That immediately creates a kind of puzzle for anyone trying to edit it, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Imagine the thousands of decisions an editor has to make. First, they have to pick a base text. Which quarto or the folio are they going to lean on most heavily? Then, they've got to decide when and how to amend that text with words or lines, or even who speaks which line from the other versions. These aren't just tiny tweaks, They're judgment calls about what makes a better or more accurate text, and that can really change the meaning or the emphasis.
I can see that.
And then there are other challenges, like unfamiliar words. Do you leave them as they are, maybe add a footnote, so people could figure them out from the context of the time? Or do you change it to something more modern, potentially losing some of that historical feel?
Tricky.
Yeah, and that's before you even get to things like obvious misprints or accidental changes that have just crept in over 400 years of printing. It's a massive scholarly job, way beyond just copying a manuscript.
It sounds like an enormous responsibility. And I guess the editor's own interpretation or even the cultural norms of their time could really shape what we end up reading. Maybe subtly, maybe not so subtly.
You've hit on a really critical point there. Cultural preferences, the tastes of a particular era, they've definitely impacted how Shakespeare's text has been presented. There's a really illuminating example from The Tempest.
Oh, yeah.
In the late 19th century, Mobia text, which for a long time was one of the most common free online versions, though often not very well edited. There's this speech by Miranda. She's chastising Caliban for trying to rape her, saying, "Abhorred slave, which any print of goodness will not take, being capable of all ill, I pity thee." Really strong stuff.
Right.
But the cultural sensibilities back then, late 19th century, they just couldn't handle Miranda, this virtuous young woman saying things like that. It was considered, indecent for a lady.
Curiously.
Seriously. So instead of keeping it as Shakespeare wrote it, because the early texts clearly give it to her, the editors just took the whole speech away from Miranda and gave it to her father, Prospero.
Wow. That completely changes her character in that moment.
It absolutely does. And it shows how older texts often kind of hide editorial interventions. They reflect the cultural tastes of their time, sometimes completely overriding what Shakespeare likely intended, without any real scholarly reason. It reminds us that the Shakespeare we read has passed through many hands.
That really does shift how you think about what a Shakespearean text even means. So if all these biases and decisions have shaped the plays over centuries, what does this transparency you mentioned mean for us today, trying to engage with Hamlet?
Well, this is where the work of places like the Folger Shakespeare Library and their digital texts that we're using becomes so incredibly valuable. They consciously try to make this whole editorial process as nearly transparent as is possible.
How do they do that?
Instead of hiding those changes or just giving you one supposedly perfect text, they show you the choices they made. For instance, if they add words or lines from another version to make the reading make more sense, they might put them in angle brackets.
Huh.
And often, especially in the digital versions, you can hover over those brackets and get more info. See exactly where the variation comes from, which quarto or the folio, and why the editor made that choice.
That's incredibly helpful.
It really is. And this transparency isn't just for academics. It allows for a much deeper, more informed engagement with the text for everyone. It means that you, as the reader, you're kind of invited into this ongoing conversation.
Yeah, you feel more involved.
Exactly. You become part of this ongoing process of taking up Shakespeare, finding our own thoughts and feelings in language that strikes us as old or unusual and, for that very reason, new. It empowers you to see the text not as some fixed monument, but as a living thing, woven together over time.
It definitely enriches the experience, moving beyond just reading the story to understanding its journey.
Precisely. You get a sense of how we arrived at our modern understanding.
What a profound way to connect with these works. Okay, with that incredible insight into the text itself, let's now plunge into the world Shakespeare crafted. Denmark. A kingdom suddenly thrown into, well, political and personal chaos, setting the stage for the tragedy of Hamlet.
Right. The setup at the start of Hamlet is absolutely critical for understanding the depth of the crisis in Elsinore. The play opens right after some really devastating events have happened.
Just before Act 1 starts.
Exactly. There's the sudden, pretty mysterious death of Prince Hamlet's father, the King of Denmark. That alone would send shockwaves. But then, almost immediately, before anyone can really process it, his mother, Gertrude, marries his uncle, Claudius.
Yeah, the speed is jarring.
It is. And this hasty, maybe even scandalous marriage not only makes Claudius the new king, bypassing young Hamlet, but it also just pours salt in Hamlet's wounds. This sudden shift in power and family dynamics creates this incredibly volatile atmosphere right from the first scene.
And Hamlet himself is immediately set apart, isn't he? He's clearly not buying the official cheer.
Not at all. From the very beginning, he's this figure of intense grief and isolation. He stands out against the court's, forced happiness. When Claudius and Gertrude try to cheer him up, he hits back with that sharp aside. A little more than kin and less than kind.
Ooh, that cuts deep.
It really does.
Yeah.
He's saying Claudius is more than kin, uncle and now stepfather, but also less than kind, meaning unnatural, not like family should be. And he pushes back hard against their attempts to make him stop grieving, insisting his sorrow is real deep inside him, not something that just seems for show. He's not performing grief. He is grieving, and he resents them trying to manage it.
It immediately isolates him from the court's vibe.
Completely. It highlights his raw, unyielding sorrow right away.
You can almost feel the chill just from his words. And that chill, that tension, it's not just personal, is it? It's practically freezing on the battlements in that very first scene where the supernatural dread starts to creep in.
Oh, absolutely. Act 1, Scene 1 really throws you into it. Midnight, the battlements of Elsinore Castle, and it's described as bitterly cold, which perfectly mirrors the unease inside the kingdom. We meet the guards, Bernardo and Francisco, and then Marcellus and Hamlet's friend Horatio join them.
Horatio, the scholar.
Right, the skeptic.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is just thick with dread because they've seen something unsettling on previous nights.
The ghosts.
The ghost, described as being in the same figure like the king that's dead, and ominously armed from top to toe. Horatio initially is dismissive. "'Tis but our fantasy." Classic scholar response.
Oh, yeah, until he sees it.
Exactly. Once he witnesses it himself, his skepticism just shatters. He says, "It harrows me with fear and wonder. The ghost's silence, its armor. It immediately raises huge questions about the state of Denmark. Something is deeply wrong."
And Horatio connects it to the political situation,
Yeah,
right? With Norway.
Yes, he does. He's the voice of reason and history here. He reminds everyone about the long-standing tension with Norway. Remember, the late King Hamlet killed Old Fortinbras in combat and won lands for Denmark.
Right.
Now, young Fortinbras, described as full of unimproved metal hot and full, is gathering forces a list of lawless resolutes on the borders. He clearly wants those lands back, by strong hand.
So that explains why Denmark is on such high alert.
Precisely. The constant watch, the daily cast of brazen cannon, the shipwrights working nonstop. Denmark is preparing for war. So the ghost appearing, looking like the warrior king armed. It's not just a personal omen for Hamlet, it's a national one. It signals danger.
And Horatio really ramps up the doom and gloom, comparing it to the omens before Caesar's death.
He does. He talks about the precursive feared events, recalling things like graves stood tenantless and the sheeted dead did squeak and gibber in the Roman streets, disasters in the sun, the moon being sick almost to doomsday with eclipse, and it's incredibly dramatic.
Yeah, it really sets the stakes high.
It tells the audience, and us, that this apparition is incredibly serious. Denmark is likely on the verge of some major, maybe catastrophic upheaval. The cosmic order seems disturbed.
That's an amazing amount of world building right there in the first scene. It's definitely more than just a family drama. Okay, so moving into Act 1, Scene 2, we shift from the spooky battlements to the more public court in Claudius, where he's trying to project control.
Exactly. Claudius's first big speech is a masterclass in political spin, really. It's a performance. He tries to balance the sorrow for his dead brother with the defeated joy of his marriage to Gertrude.
That phrase always struck me, defeated joy.
It's so revealing, isn't it? He talks about mirth in funeral and with dirge in marriage, trying to weigh delight and dole equally. Basically, he's trying to justify and normalize his incredibly fast rise to the throne and into his brother's bed.
Smooth operator.
Very. And he immediately acts decisively on the Fortinbras threat, sending ambassadors Cornelius and Voltimand off to Norway to talk to old King Norway, Fortinbras's uncle, to get him to rein in the young hothead. It shows he's concerned about external threats and wants to look like a strong, competent leader.
And in that same scene, we see him treat Laertes very differently than Hamlet.
A stark contrast, yes. Laertes, who's Polonius' son, asks to go back to France, and Claudius and Polonius grant it easily. Have you your father's leave? What says Polonius? He hath, my lord. Done.
Easy peasy.
But Hamlet, he's stuck in Elsinore, visibly uncomfortable. Claudius urges him to cast thy knighted color off, calls him son, wants him to think of him as of a father. But Hamlet's inner turmoil is just radiating off him, and his dark clothes are a constant visual reminder of his defiance.
It's clear that even before the ghost confirms anything, Hamlet is already in deep despair. What's really driving that initial anguish? Why is he so isolated?
That first soliloquy tells us so much. It starts, oh, that this too sullied flesh would melt, or sometimes it's printed as solid flesh.
Right, there's that textual variation we talked about.
Exactly. But either way, it's a raw look into his soul. He's expressing clear, suicidal thoughts, wishing the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against self-slaughter.
He's really that low.
He is. He's disgusted with the world, sees it as an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely. Everything seems weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable. It's more than just grief. It's this profound existential nausea.
And a lot of it seems focused on his parents, or rather, his father versus Claudius and his mother's actions.
Absolutely. He idolizes his dead father, compares him to Hyperion, a sun god, while Claudius is a satyr, a lecherous beast, and he's utterly consumed by Gertrude's hasty, incestuous marriage to Claudius. It happened within a little month of his father's death.
The speed is just brutal.
He can't get over it. He remembers how she used to hang on him, as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on, and then boom, married Claudius. It leads to that famous bitter line, frailty, thy name is woman.
Which is pretty harsh, generalizing like that.
It is. It's not just about his mother at that point. It's this wave of misogynistic despair that washes over him, tainting his view of all women. It suggests this deep disappointment in, well, female nature itself, as he sees it.
And yet he feels he can't say anything.
That's the crushing part. Despite this internal volcano of grief and disgust, he ends the soliloquy admitting he's trapped. But break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. He's constrained by the court, by the situation. He can't just shout his suspicions and feelings.
That forced silence must just make it worse.
It turns his private anguish into this simmering, dangerous internal pressure.
Wow, that's a heavy load. And while Hamlet's wrestling with all this internally, we then get Act 1, Scene 3, showing the very external, almost suffocating control Polonius exerts over his own kids. It's such a contrast.
It really is. This scene perfectly highlights the rigid social structures in Elsinore, especially for Ophelia. Laertes is about to leave for France, but first he gives his sister a whole lecture about Hamlet's affections.
The big brother speech.
Exactly. He basically dismisses Hamlet's love as a fashion and a toy in blood, something temporary, like a violet in the youth of primy nature. Pretty, but fleeting. It's very worldly wise, almost cynical.
And he warns her about Hamlet's status, too.
Yes, he says Hamlet is subject to his birth and may not carve for himself. As a prince, Hamlet can't just marry for love. His choice has to be about the safety and the health of this whole state. So his promises to her, unreliable.
Ouch.
He warns her about losing her honor if she listens too closely to Hamlet's songs or opens her chaste treasure to him. Basically, keep your distance. Best safety lies in fear. Politics trumps love.
And then Polonius comes in and doubles down.
Oh, Polonius is even harsher and way more cynical.
Yeah.
He jumps right in, asks what Laertes was saying, and when he hears Hamlet, he hits the roof.
Yeah.
He basically tells Ophelia she's naive, doesn't understand what's good for her honor.
Total control.
Absolute patriarchal authority. He forbids her from seeing Hamlet, tells her to reject his letters, deny him access, be something scanter of your maiden presence, he says. Play hard to get, essentially, but really, just shut him down.
And he thinks Hamlet's vows are just lies.
Completely. He calls them springas to catch woodcocks, traps for naive birds. He says, when the blood burns, how prodigal the soul lends the tongue vows. Basically, young men say anything when they're horny. He sees them as empty blazes.
And Ophelia just takes it.
Tragically, yes. Her response is simply, I shall obey, my lord. Her agency is just completely erased by the men in her life. It sets her on this path of submission, which becomes crucial later.
It really does. We see her fate being shaped right there. Okay, so after all this heavy atmosphere, let's go back to the cold battlements in Act 1, Scene 4. But this time, Hamlet is there, waiting for the ghost himself.
Yes, the tension ramps up again. The cold is still biting, really emphasizing the moral chill in Denmark. Hamlet, Horatio, and Marcellus are waiting, anxiously. And while they wait, Hamlet actually goes off on this interesting tangent, criticizing Danish culture.
About the drinking, right. Claudius is partying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He hears the cannons firing for the king's toasts and talks with disdain about the heavy-headed revel. He hates that Denmark has this reputation for drunkenness, that other nations cleap us drunkards, and it takes from our achievements the pith and marrow of our attribute. He's concerned about national honor, unlike Claudius.
And this leads to that deeper thought about flaws. The vicious mole of nature.
Right, it's a really profound philosophical moment. He reflects on how just one single flaw, this vicious mole of nature, whether it's something you're born with or a bad habit you pick up, can corrupt an otherwise noble person or even a whole nation.
How does he put it?
He says even if someone has virtues as pure as grace, that one particular fault can make them, in the general censure, take corruption. The dram of evil doth all the noble substance of a doubt to his own scandal. A tiny bit of bad can spoil the whole thing.
That feels like heavy foreshadowing.
It absolutely is. It reflects on the perceived corruption of Denmark under Claudius, and maybe even hints at the tragic flaws within many of the characters, including Hamlet himself.
And right after this deep thought, the ghost appears again.
Perfect timing. And this time, it specifically beckons Hamlet. Horatio and Marcellus try to stop him. They're terrified it might draw you into madness.
But Hamlet's determined.
Fiercely, he declares, my fate cries out, and I do not set my life at a pin's feet. He dismisses the danger to himself. He has to know. And that leads to his famous line, sensing the deeper wrongness. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. He breaks free and follows the ghost alone.
Into the unknown. And this is where the whole direction of the play changes. Act 1, Scene 5. The ghost finally speaks, and it's devastating.
It completely shatters Hamlet's world. The ghost identifies himself, I am thy father's spirit, and reveals he's in torment, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast and fires, till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burnt and purged away.
So purgatory, basically.
Seems like it, a state of spiritual suffering, making his appearance this urgent plea for justice, not just a random haunting. He needs release.
And then the bombshell revelation about his death.
The biggest one. The official story, the serpent's sting, a lie. He was murdered by Claudius. The ghost says, the serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown.
Confirmation of Hamlet's worst fears.
Exactly. It turns his grief into this burning need for revenge. And the ghost describes the murder in chilling detail. Claudius pouring juice of cursed Habona, a poison, into his ear while he slept. It curdled his blood instantly, covered his body in a lazar-like leprous crust. It's designed to horrify Hamlet, to spur him into action.
And the spiritual angle is crucial too, isn't it? How he died.
Hugely important. He died unhoused, disappointed, unanaled, without confession, last rites, or anointing, cut off even in the blossoms of my sin, with all his imperfections still on him. For the beliefs of the time, this was terrible, likely leading to prolonged suffering in the afterlife.
So the ghost's demand isn't just about earthly justice.
No, it's about his soul. Revenge his foul and most unnatural murder. That's the core command.
But there's a catch, right, regarding Gertrude.
A massive catch, and one that complicates everything for Hamlet. The ghost explicitly tells him, "Taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught. Leave her to heaven, and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge, to prick and sting her."
Wow. So go after Claudius, but leave Gertrude alone.
Precisely. Let God and her own conscience deal with her. This instruction plants this seed of huge psychological conflict for Hamlet. He has to separate justice for murder from judgment of his mother's actions, and he struggles with that intensely throughout the play.
No wonder he's reeling. His whole world just got redefined. How does he react? What's his immediate plan?
His first reaction is pure, passionate fury. He vows to wipe away all trivial, fond records from his memory, so only the ghost's commandment alone shall live in his brain.
Laser focus.
Total focus mixed with rage, he explodes. "Oh, most pernicious woman, oh villain, villain, smiling damn villain." And he immediately grabs his notebook, his tables, and writes down that bitter thought that one may smile and be a villain. The court's facade is shattered for him.
And then he decides how to handle this publicly, or semi-publicly.
Yes, when Horatio and Marcellus find him, he's acting kind of wild, almost manic.
Yeah.
And then he reveals his plan. He's going to put an antic disposition on, feign madness.
A calculated strategy.
Absolutely. A mask to wear, allowing him to investigate, maybe probe Claudius, without immediately revealing he knows the truth. It gives him cover. Yeah.
And
then he makes Horatio and Marcellus swear on his sword never to reveal what they've seen or heard, or hint that they know his madness is faked.
And the ghost confirms the oath.
Chillingly, yes. As they swear, the ghost calls out "swear" from beneath the stage. It confirms the ghost's reality and binds them supernaturally to silence.
And that final line from Hamlet in the scene, it's so heavy.
"The time is out of joint. O cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right." It perfectly captures the immense burden he feels. The world is broken, and he feels tragically destined to fix it, a task he never wanted. The weight of the kingdom is on his shoulders.
It's a truly pivotal moment, and that promise of an antic disposition, feigned madness, immediately makes you wonder who's going to see through it. It also really highlights how Elsinore feels like a surveillance state. Everyone's watching everyone.
You're absolutely right.
Which intensifies in Act 2, Scene 1, with Polonius, the master schemer, starting his own spying operation.
Polonius really embodies that paranoia and manipulation. He sends his servant, Reynaldo, off to Paris with these incredibly sneaky instructions to spy on his own son, Laertes.
How does he tell him to do it?
It's pure Machiavelli. Reynaldo shouldn't accuse Laertes directly. Instead, he should use indirections to find directions out. He tells Reynaldo to hint at minor fabricated rumors about Laertes, maybe mention some gaming, drinking, fencing, swearing, quarreling, drabbing, typical young man stuff.
Not to condemn him, but to
get others to react. If someone says, "Oh, yes, I saw him doing that," or "No, not Laertes," Reynaldo gets real information about what Laertes is actually up to and who he's hanging out with. It paints Polonius as incredibly manipulative and distrustful, even of his own son.
And then Ophelia comes in, completely distressed by Hamlet's behavior.
Yes. Later in that same scene, she bursts in, terrified, describing Hamlet's appearance. He came to her looking like a mess.
His jacket, doublet, undone, no hat, stockings birdie and falling down around his ankles, pale as his shirt, knees knocking.
Sounds like he's putting on a show. It certainly seems like part of the antic disposition. He apparently grabbed her wrist, stared intensely at her face without speaking, sighed heavily, and then left, looking back at her over his shoulder. It's a very dramatic, almost theatrical display of torment.
And Polonius jumps to a conclusion.
Immediately. Ever confident, always wanting to seem insightful, he decides this must be because Ophelia rejected him, based on his orders. "That hath made him mad," he declares. He's convinced it's love sickness caused by his own meddling.
So he completely misreads the situation.
Tragically misreads it. He laments, "I feared he did but trifle, and meant to rack thee," congratulating himself on protecting her while blaming himself for Hamlet's madness. He totally misses that it might be a deliberate act, part of Hamlet's plan. It sets up his fatal miscalculation later.
So Polonius is weaving his little web, but he's not the only spy. Act 2, Scene 2, Claudius and Gertrude bring in their own agents. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Hamlet's old school friends, yes. Claudius and Gertrude summon them with a very clear, manipulative goal. Find out what's wrong with Hamlet. They need them to gather so much as from occasion you may glean the cause of his transformation.
They notice the change is profound.
Oh, yes. They say, nor the exterior nor the inward man resembles that it was. They know it's more than just grief. They appeal to the men's friendship with Hamlet, hoping they can cheer him up and figure out if some secret sorrow afflicts him thus, that opened lies within our remedy.
Spying under the guise of friendship.
Exactly. Exploiting that past connection.
But Hamlet's not easily fooled, is he?
Not for a second. He's way too smart. He senses their purpose almost immediately. Later, he uses that great metaphor, asking Guildenstern if he thinks Hamlet is easier to be played on than a pipe.
Right, you can't just play him.
He sees right through their awkward questions and forced cheer. He knows they're instruments for the king, trying to sound him out. It just deepens his sense of isolation. Even his childhood friends are betraying him.
And amidst all this probing, he gives that incredible description of his own melancholy.
He does. He tells him he's lost all my mirth, foregone all custom of exercises. The world has lost its beauty for him. The earth seems like a sterile promontory, the amazing sky, just a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors.
It's more than just sadness.
Much more. It's a deep spiritual and emotional void, a complete loss of joy and meaning that goes way beyond normal grief or even lovesickness. It's like his soul has gone numb.
And this leads into one of the most famous speeches ever, where he talks about humanity. What a piece of work is a man. It starts so positively, celebrating human potential. But what's the devastating twist at the end?
Right, he launches into this incredible ode. What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. It's this magnificent celebration of human intellect, grace, potential, just soaring rhetoric.
It really is beautiful.
But then, the aha moment, the devastating turn. Just as he hits that peak, he pulls the rug out. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust?
Ooh, from paragon to dust.
Exactly. Man delights not me, no, nor women neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. It just captures his profound existential despair. Despite all humanity's potential, he sees it as ultimately meaningless, just dust. His world is so poisoned by betrayal and grief that nothing holds beauty or joy for him anymore. It's a fundamental crisis of belief in life itself.
From soaring heights to absolute nihilism in a few lines. But then, almost immediately, a potential tool for his revenge arrives the players. He finds a new kind of weapon.
Yes, the arrival of the acting troupe is fascinating. And Rosencrantz actually explains why these adult actors are traveling, mentioning a late innovation, the huge popularity of child actors, these little Iazes.
Child actors were competing with adult troops.
Fiercely. Apparently, these kids' companies were all the rage. They'd berattle the common stages, basically steal the audiences, leading to much to-do on both sides. It was a real thing in London around 1600, the War of the Theaters. Shakespeare's putting a bit of contemporary theatrical gossip right into the play.
That's a cool historical detail, but for Hamlet, their arrival sparks an idea.
A brilliant one. He welcomes them warmly, asks if they remember a speech he liked, and then asks, can you play the murder of Gonzago? He has a specific play in mind, and he immediately plans to add some dozen or 16 lines of his own writing to it.
He sees the play itself as a weapon.
A weapon of truth.
So how does a play become the perfect tool for his scheme? How is he going to use it?
His plan is strategic, showing he really understands psychology and the power of theater. He explains it in the soliloquy at the end of Act 2. The play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king.
The famous mousetrap.
Exactly. He had mentioned earlier being worried the ghost might be a devil trying to trick him. Abuses me to damn me. He needs real, solid proof of Claudius's guilt, something more concrete than a ghost story. He believes watching a reenactment of the murder will force Claudius to reveal himself through his reaction.
So he'll watch Claudius watching the play.
Precisely. He needs to see that flicker of guilt, that involuntary confession.
And while he's planning this, he's still sparring with Polonius.
Oh, yes. Polonius tries to interrupt his chat with the players, and Hamlet just mocks him relentlessly. Calls him a fishmonger, maybe hinting he's selling his daughter Ophelia, calls him a tedious old fool.
And that comparison to Jephthah.
That's particularly chilling. Jephthah was a biblical judge who sacrificed his daughter because of a rash vow. Comparing Polonius to him is not just an insult, it's this deeply unsettling foreshadowing of Ophelia's tragic fate, caught between her father's manipulations and Hamlet's own increasingly cruel behavior. It really sets the stage for the public confrontation to come.
The stage is definitely set, literally and figuratively. Okay, let's move into Act 3, Scene 1. This is where everything seems to converge. Claudius's suspicion, Polonius's meddling, Hamlet's feigned madness, his real internal struggle, and bang, right in the middle of it, maybe the most famous speech in all of English literature.
We're talking, of course, about to be or not to be. But just before that, the scene is set up as another trap. Polonius and Claudius hide behind an arras, a tapestry, to spy on Hamlet interacting with Ophelia.
Polonius is still trying to prove his love sickness theory.
Still trying, and Claudius is willing to listen now, hoping it explains Hamlet's weird behavior. They leave Ophelia alone, holding a prayer book, basically using her as bait.
It's pretty cruel.
It really is. Then Hamlet enters and delivers that iconic soliloquy. To be or not to be, that is the question. He's wrestling with the ultimate choice. Suffer through life's miseries or end it all.
Is it nobler to endure the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing, end them?
Exactly. He's weighing the passive courage of endurance against the active courage of suicide. Death seems like a tempting escape. To die, to sleep, no more, a consummation devoutly to be wished.
But there's a catch.
The big catch. What dreams may come when we've shuffled off this mortal coil? The fear of the unknown afterlife, this undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, that's what puzzles the will. It makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of.
So the fear of the unknown keeps us alive, even in misery.
That's his argument, and he connects this directly to his own inaction. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all, he says. The pale cast of thought, the overthinking, the dread of consequences, especially afterlife consequences, paralyzes enterprises of great pitch and moment. They lose the name of action.
His intellect becomes his prison.
In a way, yes. His deep thinking prevents him from acting decisively. It's a core theme of the play, articulated so powerfully right here.
And in this incredibly vulnerable philosophical state, he then encounters Ophelia, leading to the infamous nunnery scene. The shift in tone is just brutal.
It's incredibly harsh, one of the most painful scenes. Ophelia, following orders, tries to return Hamlet's letters and gifts, his remembrances. This immediately triggers Hamlet's suspicion and bitterness.
He denies ever giving them to her.
Flat out denies it. No, not I. I never gave you aught. Then he attacks her honesty, questions her fairness. It's as if their entire past relationship meant nothing or was built on lies.
And then the "get thee to a nunnery" line.
Devastating. And deeply ambiguous. Does he mean a convent, a place of purity, or is nunnery Elizabethan slang for a brothel? Either way, it's a command for her to remove herself from a world he sees as corrupted by sin, especially female sin. He tells her not to be a breeder of sinners.
He turns his self-loathing outwards.
Completely. He says, I'm very proud, revengeful, ambitious, but then broadens it into an attack on everyone, especially women with their paintings, makeup implying deception, and their wantonness. He tells her, we are errant knaves all, believe none of us. He projects his despair onto the whole world.
How does Ophelia react?
She's heartbroken. She laments the loss of the noble Hamlet she knew. Oh, what a noble mind is here o'erthrown. She mourns the glass of fashion and the mold of form, now blasted with ecstasy, madness.
And Claudius, listening in, what does he conclude?
Claudius isn't buying the love sickness theory anymore. He heard the whole thing and says, his affections do not that way tend, nor what he spake was not like madness. He senses something deeper, more dangerous, a calculated melancholy, not just lover's angst. He sees a threat.
So he decides to get Hamlet out of the way.
Immediately, he plans to send Hamlet with speed to England, supposedly to collect unpaid tribute money, but really hoping travel will cure him, or at least remove the problem.
But Polonius still insists on one more try.
Polonius just won't let go of his theory. He suggests Gertrude should talk to Hamlet alone after the play tonight. And guess what? Polonius will hide and eavesdrop again.
Unbelievable.
Claudius agrees, maybe humoring him, maybe seeing it as one last chance to understand the threat, but it sets the stage for disaster.
So Hamlet's emotionally wrecked, Ophelia's crushed, the king's plotting. The tension is sky high. But before the mousetrap play itself in Act 3, Scene 2, Hamlet gives the actors this amazing little lecture on acting.
He does. It's like he becomes a director, Give them very specific notes. Speak trippingly on the tongue, don't overdo it. Use all gently, don't saw the air too much or be too bombastic like those old stock characters Termagant or Herod.
He wants realism.
Exactly. He believes the purpose of theater was and is to hold as toward the mirror up to nature, to show reality, virtue her own features, scorn her own image. For him, theater is a moral tool, meant to reflect truth and critique society.
And he has specific notes for the clowns, too.
Yes, he tells them not to improvise. Speak no more than is set down for them. He hates it when clowns ad-lib just to get cheap laughs, calling it pitiful ambition that distracts from the play's real purpose.
Yeah.
He needs this performance to be perfect, focused.
He's controlling every detail. Okay, so the stage is set, the actors are briefed. Now for the mousetrap itself, this must have been incredibly tense to watch unfold.
Absolutely electric. First, Hamlet pulls Horatio aside, his one true confidant. He asks him to watch Claudius like a hawk during the play. "Observe my uncle," he says. "If his occulted guilt do not itself unkennel in one speech, it is a damned ghost that we have seen."
He still needs that final confirmation.
He does. Horatio agrees, understanding the stakes. Then the court gathers, the play begins. First, there's a dumb show, a silent pantomime that mimics the murder exactly, player king and queen. Vows, poison in the ear.
That alone must have made Claudius squirm.
You'd think so. Then the actual play, The Murder of Gonzago, starts. The player king and queen make these elaborate vows of eternal love. Gertrude famously comments, "The lady doth protest too much, methinks." A line dripping with irony.
And then the poisoning scene.
The climax. The character Lucianus creeps in and poisons the sleeping player king in the garden, just as the ghost described. Hamlet, almost manic now, provides a running commentary, practically yelling at Claudius. He poisons him in the garden for his estate. You shall see anon how the murderer gets the love of Gonzago's wife.
He's really pushing it.
Pushing every button. And it works. Claudius leaps up, completely losing his composure. He cries out, "Give o'er the play! Give me some light! Away! Lights, lights, lights!"
He can't take it. The demand for light is so symbolic.
Isn't it? He can't bear the light of truth the play shines on his dark secret. His reaction is a public confession, an undeniable display of guilt.
So the mousetrap worked. Hamlet has his proof.
Absolutely. He turns to Horatio, triumphant, relieved. "Oh, good Horatio, I'll take the ghost's word for £1,000. The doubt is gone. The play did catch the king's conscience. But now the stakes are even higher. Claudius knows that Hamlet knows.
The game has changed completely. Claudius is exposed, at least to Hamlet and Horatio. What does this do to him?
Right.
We get that rare glimpse into his mind in Act 3, Scene 3, his prayer soliloquy. It's as powerful as Hamlet's, but so different.
It really is. After the play shatters his composure, Claudius retreats, and we hear him confess his guilt in raw, stark terms. "Oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder." He knows exactly what he did, comparing it to Cain killing Abel.
He tries to pray.
He tries desperately. He wants forgiveness, but he finds he cannot. His stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. He's spiritually paralyzed.
Why can't he repent?
He spills it out himself. He's still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder. My crown, mine own ambition, and my queen. He knows true repentance means giving up the spoils of his sin, but he can't or won't. He asks that impossible question. May one be pardoned and retain the offense?
He knows the answer is no, doesn't he?
Deep down, yes. He knows earthly justice might be bought off. Offense's gilded hand may shove by justice, but not heavenly justice. There, the action lies in his true nature. He kneels, trying, but his words fly up while his thoughts remain below. He's trapped by his own desires.
And it's at this exact moment, while he's kneeling, vulnerable, seemingly praying, that Hamlet finds him. The perfect opportunity for revenge.
The perfect, most dramatic opportunity. Claudius is alone, exposed, seemingly in a state of spiritual crisis. Hamlet has his sword out. This is it.
And yet, he doesn't kill him. This is perhaps the most debated moment of inaction in the play. What stalks him? Is it really about sending Claudius to heaven, or is it something else?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Hamlet's stated reason is theological. He argues that if he kills Claudius while he's praying, purging his soul, Claudius might go straight to heaven. There wouldn't be revenge, he says. It would be higher in salary. It wouldn't be justice for his father, who died grossly full of bread, with all his sins still on him.
So he wants Claudius damned, not just dead.
Exactly. He vows to wait, to kill Claudius when he's sinning, drunk asleep, or in his rage, or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed. He wants to catch him when his soul is damned and black as hell, whereto it goes. It's a desire for ultimate, eternal retribution.
But is that the real reason, or is it another excuse for delay?
That's what critics and audiences have argued about for centuries. Is it genuine theological scruple, or is it Hamlet's pale cast of thought finding another intellectual reason to put off the bloody deed? A rationalization masking a deeper psychological inability to act?
It feels like the latter, maybe.
Many lean that way. It seems consistent with his character. But regardless, this decision is pivotal. Choosing perfect damnation over immediate action prolongs the tragedy, leads directly to more death, and keeps Hamlet trapped in this cycle. His quest for the perfect revenge, ironically, leads to more chaos.
That desire for absolute damnation is chilling. It adds this whole other layer to him. But delaying has immediate, terrible consequences, which brings us to Act 3, Scene 4, the closet scene. Accidental murder, brutal confrontation, everything escalates.
It explodes, really. Polonius, true to form, is hiding behind the arras in Gertrude's private room, her closet, ready to eavesdrop on her talking to Hamlet. Still trying to prove his theory.
He just can't help himself.
He really can't. Hamlet bursts in, full of rage from the play and his encounter with Claudius. He immediately attacks Gertrude, accuses her of having a wicked tongue, of deeply offending his father. The tension is immense. Gertrude gets scared, cries out.
And Polonius reacts from behind the curtain.
Yes, Polonius also cries out for help. Hamlet hears the noise, assumes it's Claudius dying. A rat, and without even checking, thrusts his sword right through the tapestry, killing Polonius instantly.
A sudden, impulsive act of violence.
Completely impulsive, and it changes everything.
How does Hamlet react when he realizes it's Polonius?
Shockingly dismissively. He pulls back the curtain, sees the body, and just says, "Thou wretched, rash, intruding fool, farewell, I took thee for thy better." He basically blames Polonius for being nosy. It shows a disturbing detachment, maybe fueled by his madness act, maybe genuine callousness born of his mission.
And then he turns back to Gertrude.
Oh yes, the confrontation gets even more intense. He calls Polonius's death a bloody deed, almost as bad good mother as kill a king and marry with his brother. He's practically accusing her of complicity, or at least criminal naivety. He forces her to compare pictures of his father and Claudius Hyperion's curls versus a mildewed ear, a noble king versus a cut purse. He relentlessly attacks her choice, suggesting it could only be driven by lust, not love, stripping away her defenses.
It's incredibly cruel. And then in the middle of all this, the ghost appears again.
Right when Hamlet's at his most furious with Gertrude. But crucially this time, only Hamlet sees it.
Gertrude doesn't.
No. The ghost appears, reminding Hamlet, "Do not forget, this visitation is but to whet thy almost blunted purpose." But it also tells him to be gentler with his mother. Oh, step between her and her fighting soul. Speak to her, Hamlet. It's a call for focus and compassion.
But if Gertrude can't see it?
Exactly. To her, Hamlet is yelling at the empty air. "Nothing at all, yet all that is I see," she says. This confirms her belief that he's truly mad. "This is the very coinage of your brain," she insists. His connection to the supernatural now completely isolates him from her, making him seem undeniably insane in her eyes.
So Hamlet's just killed Polonius by mistake, brutally berated his mother, and now she's convinced he's mad. How does he manage in this chaos to actually reveal his strategy and hint at what he plans to do next?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Even amidst this emotional wreckage, Hamlet shows this chillingly clear-headed cunning. He tells Gertrude directly, "It is not madness that I have lettered." He reveals he's only mad in craft, faking it. He begs her not to betray this secret to Claudius, trying to pull her onto his side, maybe save her from Claudius's influence.
Does she believe him?
It's ambiguous,
Yeah.
but he certainly tries to persuade her. He urges her to confess her sins, repent, avoid Claudius's bed, assume a virtue if you have it not. He argues that habit can change nature, pleading for her soul.
And he brings up the England trip.
Yes, he reminds her, "I must to England, you know that." And Gertrude, probably still reeling, says, "Alack, I had forgot. 'Tis so concluded on." It shows how fast Claudius is moving to get rid of him.
And Hamlet knows Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are involved?
He knows they're dangerous. He calls them his two schoolfellows, whom I will trust as I will adders fanged. He knows they're carrying the mandate, the orders for England, and that they're meant to lead him to knavery. He sees the trap clearly.
But he has a counter plan.
Oh, yes. He hints very strongly at turning their treachery back on them. "For 'tis the sport to have the engineer hoist with his own petard," he says, blown up by his own bomb. He plans to delve 1 yard below their minds and blow them at the moon.
So he intends to outwit them.
Definitely. He's not going down without a fight. He understands the deadly game and intends to play it lethally.
And the scene ends with him dragging Polonius's body away.
Yes, promising to bestow him, deal with the body. Immediately after, Gertrude runs to Claudius, reports the death, but still covers for Hamlet, saying he's mad as the sea and wind. Claudius, now terrified by the political implications of his chief advisor being murdered by the prince, decides Hamlet must go to England immediately. The accidental killing has massively accelerated the plot towards its tragic conclusion.
What a whirlwind. We've gone from the complexities of the text itself, through Hamlet's deep despair, the ghost's shocking revelation, the spying, the philosophical struggles, the mousetrap, and now this impulsive, tragic killing. Understanding these first acts is so crucial for grasping everything that follows.
Absolutely. These foundational elements, the political unrest, the personal grief, the burden of revenge, the theme of surveillance, the feigned madness, the real philosophical depth, and now this irreversible act of violence. They provide the essential context for the rest of this immense tragedy. You see how all the conflicts are established, how the characters' motivations are set.
And knowing about the textual variations adds another layer, doesn't it? It reminds us we're engaging with a living history, not just a static story.
Precisely. It connects us to this ongoing process of interpretation and understanding that's been happening for centuries. It makes our engagement with Hamlet even richer.
So, reflecting on all this, what does it mean for us? Hamlet really forces us to think about truth, how it's revealed, the price it carries, and maybe how the madness we see in others might sometimes be a kind of shield, a carefully constructed facade against a world that feels broken, out of joint.
That's a great point. It challenges us to look beyond surfaces, doesn't it? To question our own interpretations of people's actions and consider the hidden struggles or motivations beneath.
Yes, exactly. Which leads to a final thought for you, our listeners. In your own life, what are the hidden truths that might require something drastic? Maybe not a play within a play, but perhaps a difficult confrontation or deep reflection to finally bring them into the light. And what facades do we encounter in others or even ourselves, and what might lie beneath them? Something to ponder from the depths of Elsinore.
Subscribe to the Timeless Tales podcast. Your stories, your time.